There are some truths that burn inside of you like a secret poison. You carry them in silence, pretending they don't exist, while they slowly eat away at every part of you. Mine began when I was still a child, and unlike most childhood memories that fade into soft colors and half-remembered laughter, mine remain sharp, jagged, and impossible to forget. From the outside, my family looked normal, even respectable. A father who worked hard, a stepmother who smiled for the neighbors, a house that looked safe enough to fool anyone passing by. But inside those walls, reality was different. That house wasn't a home. It was a stage where cruelty played out behind closed doors, and I was the unwilling audience. My stepmother carried herself like a saint in public. She knew exactly how to charm, how to play the part of the devoted wife, the kind woman. But once the door closed, her mask slipped, and her eyes sharpened into something inhuman. Her voice could drop into a whisper that cut deeper than any scream. And my father? He stood there in silence, always silence. That silence became my prison. I learned to fear the rhythm of footsteps. It didn't matter if I was sitting quietly or doing nothing at all. The moment I heard her coming, my body stiffened, my stomach twisted. Each step echoed like a countdown. I never knew what version of her I would face. Sometimes it was mocking words, each one dripping with venom, each one reminding me how worthless I was. Other times it was punishments that blurred the line between discipline and sadism. She had a gift for cruelty, and I was her favorite subject. But the nights were worse than anything. Lying in bed, too afraid to breathe too loudly, I would stare at the ceiling until my eyes blurred. Shadows became my only companions, and I preferred their silence to hers. I learned to cry without sound, to bite the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood, just to keep from making noise. Because if she heard me, if she sensed weakness, she would come. And when she came, there was no mercy. The cruelest betrayal wasn't hers, it was my father's. He saw enough to know, he heard enough to understand, and yet he turned away. He chose silence over protection. That silence was louder than her cruelty. It was like he was telling me every single day, "You don't matter. You are invisible. You are not worth saving." His love was the one thing I wanted, and it was the one thing I would never have. Years passed like that. I grew older, but the fear didn't fade. It changed me. Trust became foreign. Love felt like a dangerous lie. Even now, long after I escaped that house, I still carry the weight of its shadows. Sometimes, when the night is too quiet, I swear I hear those footsteps again, slow, deliberate, coming closer. And no matter how far I've run, a part of me is still trapped in that hallway, waiting, bracing for the door to open. I survived. People call that strength. But survival isn't freedom. Survival means living with the scars carved so deep they become part of who you are. It means smiling while the memories claw at you from the inside. It means pretending the past is gone when it's only hiding waiting for the moment you let your guard down. And the worst truth of all, the past never lets go. It lingers like a shadow, cold and patient. And no matter how much light you try to bring into your life, it will always be there, whispering in the dark. You never really escaped. You're about to read something most people would never dare confess. And I should warn you, it's not the kind of story that ends with redemption. It's darker than that. I forced myself to miscarry behind my husband's back. You might have clicked in expecting some tragic story about poverty or abuse or desperation. Maybe you thought this was about a woman with no other options, but it's not. So consider yourself warned. I don't care what anyone thinks of me. I'm 27. I've been with my husband since I was 23. And ever since I was 18, I knew I never wanted children. I like kids, but they aren't for me. I'm selfish, I'm independent, and I treasure my quiet far too much. I've always told my husband that, always, no kids. If he ever wanted them, we weren't meant to be. He always agreed. He's a criminal attorney, married to his job. He swore children weren't part of his future either. So we were happy. Until the test. A stupid test I took half-jokingly, but staring down at those 2 lines, I didn't laugh. I froze. It felt like a death sentence. I ran to tell him because I thought he deserved to know. But when I showed him, the man I've seen stare down murderers in court, the man who has never flinched at blood or horror, he cried. He cried because he was happy. I was horrified. He hugged me, kissed me, already glowing with joy. When I reminded him he never wanted kids, he said, "I didn't until now." I wanted to scream. He betrayed me. He promised me I'd never have to give him this, and yet suddenly it was all he wanted. I tried to wait for that mythical, maternal instinct, that overwhelming love I was supposed to feel. It never came. When he started talking about names, about gender, I wanted to tear my skin off. I realized a child isn't something you bring into this world for someone else's happiness. They deserve love, attention, and I didn't want to give them any. But I couldn't go to a doctor. He'd find out. He knows everyone, every connection. Even with confidentiality, I knew somehow he'd sense the truth. He's too sharp, too watchful, and I couldn't come back sore and bruised from a procedure. He would notice. So I did it myself. I researched everything. Herbs, teas, bad food, alcohol in secret. I pushed myself through brutal exercises. I even ordered pills online. Every night, I swallowed my guilt like medicine. Every morning, I pretended nothing was wrong. And then, one night at 1 a.m., it happened. I woke up to the sheets warm with blood. Most people would panic. I felt relief. I threw away the evidence, slipped into fresh clothes, swallowed one of his sleeping pills, and drifted back into oblivion. By morning, when he woke beside me, I put on the mask, screamed, cried, collapsed into his arms. He believed me. He held me, broken for me, while I pretended to be broken too. He begged me to see a doctor. I refused, acting too distraught. Later, off the books, a doctor friend checked me. I was fine.
Physically, I don't know. When it was over, I told him I was traumatized, that I could never imagine trying again. He agreed and let it go. He doesn't know. He never will. Because how could I tell him the truth? How could I look into the eyes of the man I love more than anyone and admit I chose my freedom over his joy? That I destroyed something he wanted, not because I couldn't, but because I wouldn't. I know what people will say about me, that I'm cruel, that I'm selfish. Maybe I am, but I sleep at night knowing I didn't bring a child into a world where they'd never be wanted, not truly. People think survival is noble, that sacrifice makes you good. But sometimes survival is ugly. Sometimes it's brutal. Sometimes it's gnawing off your own leg to escape a trap. I did what I had to do, and I'll live with it, even if the truth is a monster that lives inside me, whispering at night. You chose to kill what he loved most.
Last summer, I came closer to death than I ever imagined possible. Off the coast of Australia, beneath a sky so bright it felt eternal, I almost drowned. I've never been a strong swimmer. Truthfully, I should have known better than to push myself that far out. But the ocean has a way of luring you in, whispering promises of freedom, of weightlessness. I let myself drift farther and farther from the safety of the shore, hypnotized by the shimmering water, the illusion of control, and the blissful silence that made me feel small in the best possible way. Then everything shifted. The sea floor disappeared beneath me. The playful ripples turned to vicious waves, crashing one after another like fists, pulling me under. The ocean wasn't inviting anymore. It was merciless, relentless. Each time I broke the surface for air, another wall of water slammed over me, forcing me back into its depths. The current was brutal, dragging me further from shore, further from hope. That was the moment I understood. I wasn't just in danger. I was drowning. I was going to die. For one terrifying second, panic consumed me. I thrashed, I clawed, I fought, but the harder I resisted, the stronger the ocean dragged me down. Salt water burned my lungs, my body convulsed, and then something strange happened. The fear was gone. It vanished, leaving me with a chilling, unexpected calm. A stillness that felt almost beautiful. I stopped struggling. I stopped fighting the sea. The water wasn't my enemy anymore. It cradled me like a mother holding her child. I surrendered. I accepted. This is how I die. And in that surrender, I found something I had never known before: peace. But then, hands. Strong hands seizing me, yanking me out of the silence, back into chaos. A grip on my bathing suit, dragging me toward a reality I had already released. No, I didn't want to be saved. I had already let go. Why was someone forcing me back? I resisted him. I fought him. Every ounce of my being rejected survival. I kicked, shoved, clawed at his chest, desperate to return to the ocean's embrace. But he wouldn't let go. He fought harder, fighting against me, fighting for me. And then I saw his face. My boyfriend. His expression twisted in a way I had never seen before. Pure terror, desperation, agony.
He wasn't drowning from the waves or the current. He was drowning because of me, because I was dragging him down with me. Something inside me shifted. I didn't care about my own life, but I couldn't let him die. So I stopped. My body went limp in his arms. I let him fight for me when I refused to fight for myself. By the time we reached the shore, I was hollow, drained of everything, air, strength, even meaning. He collapsed beside me, chest heaving, arms trembling, eyes still wide with terror. He looked at me, waiting for words, but what could I possibly say? Thank you? I wasn't grateful. I was furious, because in those dark, suspended moments beneath the surface, I had felt something purer than anything life had ever given me. True peace. Not the fragile kind found in comfort or happiness. A peace that came from surrender, from letting go completely. And now it's gone, ripped away from me. I should be thankful, I know. He saved my life. But instead, I'm left with resentment. Because for one fleeting moment, I was free. Free of fear, of worry, of responsibility. Free in a way that living has never given me. And now I am back. Back to bills and obligations, back to expectations and the weight of living. Back to a world that will never give me what the ocean gave me in death. I'll never say it out loud. I'll never let him know. But sometimes, late at night, when everything is quiet, I still think it. I wish he hadn't saved me.